Back here at ICAST 2011, I'm with Bobby from Mega Strike.
The Shakey Head technique came over from Japan. It started in Japan as a finesse technique, and as it came over to the United States, it basically changed. What they were doing was going to bigger baits and fishing them on the bottom, and the heads were nothing more than a ball head jig with a 60 or 90 degree bend in the head. And I've been diving with bass for over 22 years, and what I would witness on the bottom is everybody thought the craws or the worms were always standing up vertical, and what we were watching were the heads were actually laying sideways, dragging the worm or the craw sideways, and they looked unnatural. So what I developed was the Shakey 2 head. And no matter how this bait or your bait with this head lands on the bottom, it will always keep that bait vertical. And if you drag the bait along the bottom, it actually has a fulcrum system, a balancing point that will roll that bait and keep that bait vertical. When you can get a bait to be vertical rather than horizontal, looking unnatural, you're going to get 10-to-1 strikes. And this new Shakey 2 head is the talk of the show. You know, we sell these things all over the world. And what we were doing, we were talking before about the power shaking. The original technique was using 1/8 ounce, 16th ounce heads. I built a Shakey Head, and we started this power shaking for larger baits, like the bigger beaver style baits. 10-inch worms, 14-inch worms, and we're going to show you in the tank here how no matter how you throw this bait or this head in the water, it's going to get that bait to stand up vertical, and it's really an amazing bait. It's taken over the country.
And that's what I'm excited about, is the bigger, beefier head for bigger baits, and we can still do the Shakey Head deal and appeal to bigger fish specifically.
Absolutely. Big baits, big fish. You know, the one that we'll demonstrate today is a 12-inch worm on a 3/4 ounce Shakey Head, and I also have a 3/8 ounce with one of my mega bugs. And when you see this in the water, like I said, you'll see how our baits are different than everybody else's. You know, this business is like a copycat industry. Mega Strike, we like to be innovative, think outside the box and be different, and that's why we get the recognition of what we're doing, because it's a little different than everybody else's. So,
and y'all have won Best of Show before in that category to prove it.
Yep, we won Best of Show in 2006, and with the Evolution jig, that is pretty much revolutionizing jig fishing. So if we can show this bait in the water, it's going to be pretty cool.
Folks, y'all watch the monitor right here, and you're going to see the action of this bait right here in this tank.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take this bait, and like I said, no matter how you throw it in the water, it is always going to land in that upright position, okay? Instead of rolling over on its side, that's what I want my bait to look like underneath the water. If you're going to flip mats of grass where there's a canopy, etc., I want my bait to be vertical. You can use worms, tubes, grubs, swim baits, anything with this. And if you get a chance to watch this, I'm going to pull this along the bottom like you're dragging one of the baits. You can see how it rolls forward into that natural defensive posture of the crayfish, and no other Shakey Head in the world does it except the Mega Strike Shakey 2 Head. And that's what you want it to do. You want it to look as natural as can be. And this one worm that we have here is a 12-inch worm, and it's a little bit waterlogged from being in there. But like we talked before about, big, giant worms, look at the size of that. That's a 12-inch worm. And like on Falcon Lake, they got those big, 10, 12, 14-pound bass out there. These 3/4 ounces, they're going to be good for fishing 20, 30 foot of water with a big 12-inch worm. And, like we talked before, big bait, big fish. And like I said, any bait you throw out there, see how it lands perfectly upright? When you can get that bait with that tail to land vertical rather than laying over on its side, it will get more strikes. Now, see how that head just turned right back up? Now, like I said, this tail's a little limp on this one here, but if you can get that head to stand up, dragging that along the bottom, there's no doubt in my mind that bait will produce more strikes than one laying over unnatural on its side.